They hid, pressed against the wall, and quietly crept to the turn. Looking around the corner, they saw a huge monster. It was half a body with legs, from which hundreds of small faces with eyes and mouths protruded. Yang Lingling even covered her mouth in disgust. She asked Zhao Yi what the hell this was. The boy looked at the monster and said what a beautiful creation it was. The girl was shocked by his delight. She asked what they should do next with this creation. Zhao Yi replied with a smile that they had to cut him up brutally anyway. Taking out a scalpel from his pocket, he added that the creature should be treated very carefully. Yang Lingling prepared the shotgun and said that she understood everything. And then she saw Zhao Yi rush forward at the monster with a single scalpel. The boy shouted to her that he had already left. And then he turned to the monster with a shout. How he would like to be cut in half. Zhu Yi that the monster had a medium level of danger, with the note that it was only a semi-finished product and it was no different from the external quantum state. The system suggested that the monster's weakness is hemorrhoids on the buttocks. And the additional information says that apparently when these lunatics were doing the experiments, they didn't think that mutants could also suffer from hemorrhoids from sitting for long periods of time. The monster rushed at Zhao Yi. The boy just smiled and took out a piece of paper from his pocket. It was a certificate for Elder Liu's real estate. The system issued a message that the boy used a certificate, the effect of which is to forcibly seal a monster within 5 Maothmirs for 10 seconds. The monster really stopped. After that, Zhao Yi jumped behind him and started wielding a scalpel. After a few seconds, the monster was torn to shreds. The system issued a new message congratulating that the boy had killed the rebel. His weapon absorbed fragments of the mutant's body as he tried to rebuild his body. But then, the system issued a message that there is not enough power. Unable to resume recovery, and recovery is suspended. The boy's spiritual weapon acquired a special ability, entanglement. It was described that a monster, after being wounded by his weapon, would continue to become greedy until it died. The greedy power is related to the strength and level of the guy. Zhao Yi became curious as to what the monster's ability was. Discovering the characteristics of yourself? The boy was amazed that his power increased by 8 points from just 1 kill. Peeking out from around the corner, Yang Lingling asked if the monster had already died. Zhao Yi replied that she could go out that way too. Sitting down next to the monster, the boy noted that it should have been a perfect creature, but its creator was not very capable. Zhao Yi swung his scalpel again. The girl asked what he was going to do again. The boy replied that he would cut open the monster to find out if there was any other clue. After cutting up the monster, the boy said that it had 18 kidneys. It was written in the chat that judging by the shape of the monster's head, it should have quite powerful functions. Someone noted that even Zhao Yi did not expect to see such a thing. After raging the body, the boy rose to his feet and told Yang Lin that there seemed to be no problem and they should go on. Walking further down the corridor, ahead of them, they saw a room in which there were huge glass flasks filled with liquid. Stepping closer and taking a closer look, Yang Ling was horrified. Inside these flasks, there were babies, and various tubes were connected to them. The body of one of the babies was cut open on the operating table. Entering the room, Zhao Yi said that they were lucky. He went to the table and took in his hands a magazine with the words that he had found the protocol of the experiment. After reading the records, Yang Ling concluded that it seems there was a small riot in the laboratory and the experiment created by the scientists got out of their control and then killed them all. Covering the baby's body with a sheet, Zhao Yi pointed out that whatever violent quantum state or monster they had just encountered, it couldn't be made out of thin air. That they should keep the warehouse. Yang Ling did not understand what the team was talking about and asked the boy what he meant. Zhao Yi said that this is the most primitive kind of subject, and pointing his finger at the monitor, he asked the girl if she understood what it was. So he looks at the monitor and does not understand what it is. But it doesn't matter. He just needs to restore the data as it was originally. It is enough for a boy to see what it is made of, this primitive creature. Zhao Yi began actively typing something on the computer keyboard. On the monitor, the couple saw how the system gradually began to process the image of the monster. While restoring the data, the monster gradually began to take on the contours of a human body, and in the final, he completely turned into a girl. Yang Lingling exclaimed that it was disgusting because the monster had just turned into a girl. After reading the test subject's characteristics, Zhao Yi said that this creature's cells possessed high activity and adaptability, which meant that this girl was very young. The boy assumed that this girl was most likely a high school student. Yang Lingling's hands trembled. She asked if the boy didn't mean that the institution built such a large experimental base underground in order to turn the student into a monster. Grabbing the documents she was holding in her hands, the girl asked if these people were criminals or crazy. Zhao Yi noted that that monster just had 18 kidneys. That each kidney is very young, which means that human organs were traded in this laboratory. If the experiment was successful, the girl's cells could continue to grow. The owners would have a permanent supply of kidneys for sale, and this meant that they breed kidneys and earn money. Also, Zhao Yi looked at the flasks containing the babies and added that the experimental base has more than one project. What was mentioned in the journal of the experiment, it seems that in it, the creations of the quantum body are created, and they succeeded. Looking at the picture in the magazine, the boy noted that they had already met a similar black shadow from outside. Perhaps this is the monster described in the experiment protocol of the rebellion of quantum state monsters. Yang Lingling was angry. She started talking about the fact that those scum built a base for experiments on people, under the school. That it is madness to raise such monsters.
Zhao Yi sighed and said that it was not. That they did not build an experimental base under the school. Instead, they built a school on top of a human experimentation base. The girl was shocked.
The boy went on to say that the construction of the underground experimental base was quite difficult, and if they expected the school to start working, then secretly building the base would be impossible. Therefore, he concludes that this base was built first. According to their plan, Shinan was supposed to be part of their experiment. They needed young and energetic subjects to perform various experiments. In addition to the relevant organizations, what other organization could legally conduct experiments on young people, except for an elite school? Yang Lingling agreed with Zhao Yi's judgment. Leaving the room, the boy called the girl with him. He said that they only needed some materials to prove this achievement and then they could complete the secret task. On the way back, Zhao Yi met the monster with 18 kidneys again. With the help of a scalpel, the boy removed the skin from it. Yang Lingling vomited in disgust. Zhao Yi raised his skin. In the comments, they wrote that it is quite disgusting and that there is too much skin. The boy put the skin in his inventory. Someone from the audience said that he does not get along with such guys because he is not such a pervert. Then, the two of them continued to walk forward along the corridor. At the end, a large white dining room really appeared. Zhao Yi motioned for Yang Lingling to be quieter. They carefully opened the dining room door. The girl and boy were shocked by what they saw. Yang Lingling covered her mouth in fright. The dining room was filled with a large number of various monsters of different shapes. They wandered around the dining room and ate the remains of human bodies. The girl said that there were a lot of monsters and asked how many students were missing. Shouldn't the police be interested in that? Zhao Yi thought about it and replied that the people who built this base clearly had the means for it, most likely connections with the mayor of City A. But the mayor should not have done it on his own. The guy was afraid that a huge team was behind it, and the main one just pulls the strings. Yang Lingling asked what they should do now. Zhao Yi asked her to wait. Opening his inventory, the boy took out the skin of a monster. Yang Lingling felt a little nauseous again. Zhao Yi tore the skin in half and pulled one part through Yang Lingling. The girl looked at him, then at his skin, and asked if he was thinking about, and then she shouted that she would not wear it even if she was killed. The boy grabbed her by the hair and told her to take the skin. Yang Lingling had a creepy, stony face as Zhao Yi wrapped her in monster skin. Someone wrote in the chat that he would take screenshots of the girl's facial expressions. And someone pointed out that this is a very dangerous idea. Zhao Yi also put on a piece of leather and commented that this jacket was quite nice. Yang Lingling did not have that opinion. She already began to think that ghosts were waving at her. The guy took the girl by the hand and led her forward to the dining room. They entered. The monsters inside turned their attention to them. One pair of monsters began to approach them. Yang Lingling began to tremble with fear. Zhao Yi, with a calm expression on his face, told her not to panic. He pulled the girl by the hand so that she stood behind him. Two monsters came up and stood in front of them. Zhao Yi drew air into his lungs and began to mumble something incomprehensible in a rough and eerie voice. One of the monsters, who had a horn on his forehead, started laughing and mumbled something back to the boy. Zhao Yi continued their conversation, which was incomprehensible to Yang Lingling, and was already gesturing something with his hands. The monster gurgled and gesticulated in response. Then he stopped and turned to another monster that had tentacles hanging from its mouth and shoulders. The horned monster gurgled at the other monster, pointing out that Zhao Yi was emotionless. Repeater. The second monster shrugged and mumbled something that sounded like he was disappointed. Then they turned and walked away in silence, ignoring Zhao Yi. Yang Lingling thought that Zhao Yi was well done. She should remember and repeat all these strange gestures. She noted that the boy has a talent for imitation. Zhao Yi told the girl that they needed to go and see what was inside. He did not pay any attention to the monster sitting next to him and eating the human hand. The boy noted that there were 16 doors in the dining room, but the monsters never entered or left one of them. He also said that even when monsters pass by this door, they deliberately avoid it. Yang Lingling asked if he wanted to go in there and have a look. After all, if he enters, he will be exposed, won't he? Looking at the door, Zhao Yi said that he would not enter. He decided that he would first look for other clues in the dining room, and they went further down the corridor. After walking a few meters around the corner, the boy and girl saw two monsters that were eating someone's body. They froze, watching the monsters. Yang Lingling was sick of such a picture. One of the monsters, seeing them, began to gurgle something creepy and held out a human hand to them, as if offering them to eat it too. The monster continued to gurgle something as if inviting them to join and eat together. Zhao Yi, while smiling, and held out a human hand to him. The boy looked at his hand, which, frankly speaking, was no longer fresh. It was mutilated, rotting, and corpse worms were already sticking out of it. He thought he didn't eat human flesh, but the situation demanded it. Zhao Yi sat down next to the monster and took his hand. He pulled a corpse worm from his mutilated hand and put it in his mouth. Yang Lingling was petrified in shock. She couldn't believe that Zhao Yi was eating this abomination. Then the monster turned towards the girl and, beginning to gurgle something, offered his hand to her as well. She was trembling with fear. Zhao Yi noted that there was nothing to worry about now. As the monsters continued their feast, the boy noticed that something was lying under the corpse's head. He carefully took out the bloody envelope that contained the letter. The letter said that employees were ordered to leave the experimental base, but they were sorry for the wasted years and could not leave her just like that. The employee complained that the Xishan base was repeating the mistakes of Gongshuan City many years ago. After reading this, Zhao Yi noted the city of Gongshuan. That the city of Gongshuan is mentioned again, a system message appeared. It welcomed players Zhao Yi and Yang Lingling to complete a secret quest to find the truth about Xishan School. Quest rewards will be distributed after the main quest is completed. Zhao Yi thought that these manuscripts confirmed their earlier assumptions. Xishan School was built as an experimental base, and those outstanding students gathered from all over the world in City A became the products for the experiments. The guy remembered that he also saw a distorted shadow on the territory of the hospital. Judging by the notes, this shadow should be X1. Then there is the possibility that there are more than 2 experimental bases, Xiangshan Hospital and Xishan University. He thought that this information should be told to Yang Lingling. He came back and was stunned. The girl was standing and tears were rolling from her eyes. She tried to calm down, but still sobbed softly. One of the monsters broke away from the meal and gurgled something like what those sounds were. The next moment, Zhao Yi grabbed the girl's hand and they ran down the corridor. The monster did not understand anything, so he did not pursue them. They ran to the door, which was bypassed by monsters. Stopping next to her, the guy gave the girl a chance to breathe. Zhao Yi asked why she was crying. Yang Lingling replied that she knew that the secret task was completed. Even if she died immediately and returned to the guild residence, it would already be blood money, but the girl pointed to the cafeteria and said that seeing how many students are in the cafeteria, she is unhappy to receive this money. Yang Lingling said that these students once hoped to see their future. How much work they had to do to get to this school. But they could not have thought that after falling into such a man-made hell, they would be mercilessly turned into monsters. Tears began to flow from the girl again, and she went on to say that it was really hard to imagine how they lay there, and so desperately. Zhao Yi interrupted her. He took the girl by the shoulders and said that it was pointless to sympathize with them. If they hurry through the main task, maybe then they will be able to find out who is behind these experiments. The girl agreed that there was meaning in his words. Yang Lingling calmed down and wiped away her tears. She asked Zhao Yi, what should they do next? The boy said that to begin with, they had to find a way to merge with that ghostly figure outside. The girl was amazed. She asked what it meant to unite with that creature. Is he out of his mind? Zhao Yi explained that judging from what happened when that black shadow chased and killed Li Shen, it can be analysed that most likely this was the final creation of X2, this experimental base. A state of quantum chaos, a state that is unstable and very powerful. Yang Lingling asked if he still wanted to unite with him. She said she was afraid they wouldn't be able to find a way to start communicating with him. Zhao Yi drew the girl's attention to whether she thought it strange that the creature had such abilities, and it was only standing at the entrance to the experiment base and not roaming around in other places. Yang Lingling pondered and speculated that maybe it couldn't find a way to get out of there, and that's why it was always there. The guy added that it's not that it doesn't know how to get out of there. And the creature guards the entrance. Hearing the movements, the black shadow followed Li Shen. This shows that it does not want anyone to enter the experimental site through the mine, and the monsters at the experimental base would rather eat rotting corpses than go outside. Which means there are things outside that they fear. Zhao Wei explained to Yang Lingling that they were obviously afraid of X2. If X2 wants to get out, they'll be easy to kill. The girl asked if the boy meant that they were hostile to the fog from the outside. Zhao Yi confirmed that it was. He handed Yang Lingling a note which said that the mayor of City A had asked the experimenters to take the data out of the database, and helping them to destroy everything would not work. After reading this, the girl understood something and said that the organizers needed this fog curse, that they wanted to use it to erase all traces of experiments here. Zhao Yi smiled and said that everything was correct. That these unknown ghosts in the thick fog are the real initiators of this dungeon. But it is also a problem that they need to solve for their primary and secondary tasks. Yang Lingling looked at the boy dumbfounded. She asked that this fog was hard to deal with. But what exactly was bothering him? Zhao Yi was delighted with the idea. He told the girl that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Zhao Yi speculated that if they could find a way to contact the creature, then they would be able to extract key information from its mouth. Perhaps this will give them the opportunity to complete additional tasks faster. Yang Linglin put her hand on Zhao Yi's forehead and asked him if he sometimes has a fever because he is saying something crazy today. Taking her hand away, the boy told her to forget, because it will be very troublesome to explain everything to her, so the girl just needs to follow him for a while. Yang Lingling agreed. Several hours passed. Zhao Yi and Yang Lingling continued to stand by the door with a combination lock that no monsters walked by. The girl asked what exactly they were waiting for. Zhao Yi replied that they were waiting for the canteen monsters to rest. He explained that since monsters were created from humans, they are still creatures of sorts at the end of the day, and they will definitely go to sleep when they are tired. Zhao Yi suggested that Yang Lingling take this opportunity to enter this door while the monsters are sleeping. He said that if they guessed, it would have to do with X2. The girl, pointing to the electronic lock, asked how they would get in there. At this time, Zhao Yi crouched over the corpse of a man lying in the corridor and took out a scalpel. Yang Lingling didn't even have time to agree on the password for the lock when the boy had already cut off the corpse's head. Taking the head, the boy brought it to the electronic lock to scan it. Identification has gone into the system. Zhao Yi told the girl that at that time he saw that one of the weaknesses of that shadow was ontology. So, if they were lucky, there might be his body inside the room. Face recognition by the system was successful, and the door to the room opened. Throwing their heads back, the couple entered the middle. Inside, they saw something scary. In the middle of the room stood a huge flask filled with liquid. The body itself was not in it, but there was only the brain, inhuman eyes, and all the nerve endings that are in the human body. Yang Lingling was shocked by what she saw. She asked what kind of old man was here. Zhao Yi calmly walked over to the flask, and after examining the organs a little closer, he noted that these things were truly a work of art. The girl was even twisted by such a conclusion. The guy explained that only the most important parts of the whole body are preserved. They used a nutrient solution to keep the cells active and external stimuli instead of the heart to complete the cycle. This type of total nerve removal surgery had been used on patients he had known before. Zhao Yi pointed out that only one person could do this. Messages with questions poured into the chat. Is it possible to do such operations in real life? Some have confirmed that such operations are possible in reality, but in colleges they use dead people. Someone from the audience turned out to be a surgeon who confirmed that at this level of nerve stripping, the anesthetic does not work, so the process ends when the patient regains consciousness. Others wrote that it is deserted. Yang Lingling moved closer to the flask and asked Zhao Yi if he meant that this guy was still alive. Zhao Yi said that it was. Pointing to the wires and hoses leading to the flask, Zhao Yi explained to the girl that these nutrient solutions and life support machines were extremely expensive. That these crazy researchers should not have messed with the dead. The girl once again carefully looked at the nerve endings in the brain, which was in the solution. She wondered if this guy was really still alive, then what he was feeling right now. Zhao Yi looked around the room and noticed a magazine on the table. Opening it, he read the note. It said that God said that focus is a necessary quality for a united spirit. Kindness is a lock that seals strength. Anger and fear are the keys to the lock. Zhao Yi thought it was a quote from some philosophy book. Suddenly, Yang Lingling called him, telling him to look at something. Approaching the girl, she said that there was a label on the flask with some kind of inscription. Stepping closer, Zhao Yi read the inscription. X2, prototype, Chen Chong, 16 years old. Adaptation, 96. Activity high. Brainwave compatibility, 921. Spiritual cohesion, excellent. The guy thought that it was really him. Chen Chong, a top student who was expelled from school because of an early crush, which, in fact, has now become a disordered accumulation of nerve endings and blood vessels. Zhao Yi pondered with a smile on his face, as he thought to himself that it was very interesting that Chen Chong was used to create X2. Zhao Yi turned around and told Yang Lingling that he was going to review the list of experiment participants. The girl asked again about the list. Flipping through the magazine, Zhao Yi saw the names of the experiment participants. Among them were Zhang Ya, Pan Xiao, and Li Shen. Seeing Li Shen's name, the boy was quite surprised. He smiled and told the girl that Pan Xiao was not the mayor's son at all, and Zhang Ya was not an 18th grade goddess. After showing Yang Linlin a journal with notes about the experiment, he added that they were all experimenters who had disguised themselves as students. They helped to find test subjects at school. Yang Lingling was shocked by this news. Zhao Yi explained that these two, Pan Xiao and Zhang Ya, played different roles. They deliberately approached Chen Chong step by step. Their purpose was to follow the entries in the notes, to anger Chen Chong and release his inner demon.
Simply put, students with higher grades have a higher level of concentration. It is very difficult for a person with poor concentration to achieve academic success.
Still, this is the best school in the city. In fact, the goal is to test these subjects for concentration. Zhao Yi said that it was no surprise that Pan Xiao and Zhang Ya were not on the list. They were experimenters, probably gone long before the curse was born. Suddenly, a voice came from behind Zhao Yi saying that they had almost guessed. Turning around, the boy and girl saw Li Shen, who pointed a machine gun at them. The man was badly injured and without an arm. Li Sheng said that those two dogs did not escape, that they were also victims of the experiment. Then, With a crazy smile, Li Shen shouted to the couple that they weren't expecting him. Despite all the difficulties and dangers, he still survived. And, calling the boy and the girl scumbags, he said that the games were over. Yang Lingling raised her hands and asked Li Shen to calm down first. Zhao Yi smiled. He put his hand on the girl's shoulder and told her not to do that. Li Shen shouted for the boy to stand still. The man warned Zhao Yi that if he moved again, he would shoot him on the spot. The boy confidently asked Li Shen if he would actually shoot him. Yang Lingling was shocked by what Zhao Yi said. With an exaggerated expression on his face, Zhao Yi said that Li Shen needed bullets and he must have already used them up. And the boy does not believe that he can do it. Li Shen screamed wildly and started firing his machine gun. Zhao Yi was surprised that the man started shooting after all. One of the bullets shot right through Yang Lingling's leg. In the comments, they wrote that although the old man shoots, he shoots crookedly. The girl shouted to Li Shen that she did not provoke him, so why did he shoot at her? The man apologized to her several times and said that next time he would aim better. At this point, Li Shen felt dizzy and fired another shot. The man accidentally fired and the second bullet hit Yang Lingling again, but this time in the other leg. In the general chat, they began to laugh at the man's cleverness, as well as the character of the goddess Yang Lin. After removing the monster's skin, Zhao Yi told the girl to undress. She was confused and did not immediately understand his hint. The boy tore off the sleeves of his jacket and then tore the sleeves of his shirt into shreds and bandaged the girl's shot legs with them. While dressing Yang Lingling's wounds, Zhao Yi turned to Li Shen and said that once they almost killed him, and now he almost killed them. Summarizing now, the man is one of them. Li Shen didn't quite understand the boy's hint.
Zhao Yi turned to him and asked what he could do to help them.
Li Shen began to shake with anger. He thought that he now also owed something to Zhao Yi. If the boy had not been so helpful, he would have gladly showered him with bullets. The man froze and calmed down. He lowered the machine gun and said that now that they got here, it proves that they have roughly figured out what happened. Li Shen said that it was true that they did, including the curse of the school, also because of them. The man added that if they wanted to get out of here, they had to find a way to lift the curse. Li Shen put the machine gun down and walked over to the computer. Zhao Yi asked what he was going to do. The man was typing something very quickly with one hand on the computer keyboard. He said that X2's escape pod is sealed, so X2 will gradually die. And he added that other mutants are mostly safe. Li Shen said that soon the organization would send someone to lift the curse and clean everything up here. Zhao Yi took the man's hand and told him not to deceive himself that the organization would not come to his aid. Li Shen got angry and started shouting that he was participating in the experiment and that he had secret data that they didn't have. That he really has a high value and the organization will not leave him so easily. Zhao Yi tried to explain to the man that if he was really important to them, the organization would have sent someone to rescue him a long time ago, instead of letting him live alone for so long in this place filled with monsters. The boy smiled at Li Shen and said that he would rather trust them than expect the organization behind him to send someone to rescue him. Zhao Yi leaned towards the man and whispered that at least as long as they were all in the same boat. Li Shen shouted for the boy to shut his mouth. He pulled out a machine gun and, pointing it at Zhao Yi, shouted how dare the boy speak such nonsense and threatened to kill him now. Zhao Yi continued to tell Li Shen that it must be hard to be abandoned. That the man was so loyal, like a dog, but as a result, what kind of person he turned out to be. The boy remarked that when you are used, you are first lifted up to the heavens and then thrown into the landfill like garbage. Zhao Yi told Li Shen not to be stupid, and if you want to live, you only need to say a few words to him. With a smile on his face, Zhao Yi said that they were the only ones who could help him right now. If a man kills him now, he will die himself in the near future. Li Shen continued to keep the machine gun aimed at the boy. Clenching his teeth, he hissed for him to close the door. Zhao Yi, with a calm expression on his face, looked at the angry Li Shen, whose hand holding the machine gun was already beginning to tremble. In the chat, they began to worry that the old man would not be able to stand it and accidentally shoot Zhao Yi. someone remarked that the task from minute to minute will be completed and many mysteries will be revealed, it would be a pity to die at such a moment. Eventually, Li Shen lowered the machine gun and then fell to the floor himself. He was exhausted. Yang Lingling breathed a sigh of relief. She thought she was scared to death. Li Shen took out the cigarettes with one hand, lit one with the lighter, and started smoking. He then turned to Zhao Yi and asked if he didn't look miserable now. The girl got up and, holding her injured legs, angrily said how dare he call himself miserable. She reminded him of the students they tortured and re-educated, the families they destroyed, and the creatures without nerve endings. Shouldn't they have been pitied, not him? Li Sheng lowered his eyes and asked if the girl thought he was worried about it. He said that his daughter was in their hands. 7 years ago, his wife died of cancer. Before leaving, she asked him to take care of their daughter. The man, holding her head, said that he was very sorry for her. Then tears rolled from his eyes, and he said that now he felt sorry for his daughter. Yang Lingling pondered. She remembered that she had already seen a mention of someone's daughter in one of the records. Was it related to Li Shen? The girl asked Li Shen if his wife and child were under the control of that organization. The man replied that if it was so. Li Shen said that for a human, killing a pig is no more than a simple job. However, these young students inside are not even as good as the pigs here. The man went on to say that they thought all their crimes were unforgivable, but really, did they have a choice? He asked the couple to choose, the death of a stranger or their family. Would they choose their family? Yang Lingling looked at the man and thought that it was really so. If she were in Li Sheng's place, she would probably make the same choice. She thought that people are selfish. Li Shen leaned on the table and offered to negotiate. He said the two of them could sneak into the school undetected. He knows this because they are not ordinary people. And if they give him such a favor, he will show how to remove the curse. Zhao Yi asked the man if he would ask to save his daughter. The man smiled and replied that they should be trusted so that the boy would not even talk about saving his daughter. As for them, as soon as they get close to the organization, they will be detected and eliminated in the shortest possible time. Li Shen added that if Zhao Yi didn't take this stupid girl with him, then his chances of survival would be much higher. Yang Lingling was amazed at this assessment of herself. She got angry and yelled at Li Sheng that he himself is a fool and his whole family is stupid. Zhao Yi only asked Li Shen what they should do to help him. The man staggered to his feet. He walked around the room and said they had to see something. He approached the bedside table of one of the tables. He opened the door, took out everything there, and showed them the safe behind the table. Li Shen put his finger on the lock with the fingerprint scanner. Fingerprint verification was successful. The man climbed up and took something out of the safe. It was a small flask of liquid. Exhausted, the man handed it over to Zhao Yi. The guy asked what it was. Li Shen replied that it was a substance from another project that was still under development, but it was no less dangerous than X2. The man added that the organization will not ignore it. Maybe for several months, and maybe for several years. And even if this place was completely in ruins, they would definitely send someone to search it. Li Shen said that such things falling into the hands of the organization. And the man did not finish. His eyes began to double, and he slid down the wall to the floor. Va In continued that as far as the curse is concerned, all the answers are in the magic box. Just close that box and the curse will be gone. Li Shen pointed a finger at the door and said that they should go out through the secret passage he came from, and added that the box is right there in the very center of the fog. The man explained that the evil is in the fog. It will not attack something that may already be dead. If the couple can reduce their emotions and feelings as much as possible, then maybe everything will work out for them. Li Shen continued to say more and more quietly that they had no eyes, no nose, and no ears. That they use brainwaves to detect whether a living creature is a dangerous object. With these words, the man fell to the floor. Zhao Yi and Yang Lingling turned and looked at Li Shen. Bleeding, he told them with the last of his strength to remember, so that they would not see in that fog, so that they would not be surprised and afraid. As soon as they show their emotions and feelings, the devil will appear next to them. He will smell the meat. Yang Lingling wanted to remove one of her bandages and told Zhao Yi to bandage Li Sheng's wounds to stop the bleeding. The guy said it's not worth wasting time on. He explained to the girl that prolonged hunger had weakened the man's body to the extreme. And during the escape, his body produced a lot of adrenaline, which worsened the situation. Right now, Li Shen has lost too much blood. They can't help him. Only if there was a large hospital nearby that would urgently give him a blood transfusion. If this is not done, then he will not be able to be reborn in the next life. Yang Lingling looked at her husband sadly. In the general chat, there were comments about how beautiful their goddess was, but that even though Li Shen was a pagan, his story touched the soul. The viewer almost forgot that the man was an NPC. The girl asked Zhao Yi what he thought if Li Shen was telling the truth. The guy thought and answered that, from the point of view of psychology, he believed him. Zhao Yi pointed out that this image was clearly not invented by the system. Picking up a small flask of the substance, he added that there must be an easier way to remove the curse. Otherwise, they will follow Li Sheng's instructions, which are known to every novice. And 99% of people will die on this road. Yang Lingling could barely stay on her feet. She asked the boy how they could find another way to lift the curse. Zhao Yi thought and replied to the girl that there was no need for that. Although these detours look complicated, they will definitely lead them to their goal faster. They were standing in front of the secret corridor that Li Shen had pointed out. Yang Lingling said it was too dangerous. Even if their spiritual power falls in the thick fog, then the ghosts will be able to sense them much faster than usual. Zhao Yi said it was okay. As a psychiatrist who has cured thousands of mentally ill people, he feels confident and ready to control his emotions and feelings so that the monsters do not feel him. Taking a step forward, the boy told the girl that he had left. Yang Lingling called out to him. Looking at the boy, she said that she believed that everything would work out for him, but she would not go with him any further. In the comments, they began to write that their goddess realized that she would not be able to control and maintain her level of spiritual power. Therefore, at a critical moment, it can cause them to collapse and kill them. Someone pointed out that hidden mission points are the real bloody money. They then wrote that now they could only watch Zhao Yi. Zhao Yi finally saw an elevator appear on the horizon after going around the secret passage.
This secret passage ran very deep underground and was operated by a shaft lift.
To activate the elevator, Zhao Yi took Hetty's head out of the inventory. Unlike the mine guarded by X2, this mine requires club members to operate, so ghosts outside cannot enter. Putting his head to the scanner, the boy thought that, after all, they do not sit on the ground to create soil plows for mud. That even though these creatures are ghosts, they have a clear idea of themselves. They are killers, hunters, and definitely not a farming machine. Zhao Yi hit his head while riding the elevator. When the elevator doors opened, the boy saw a ghost in the corridor. A system message appeared that it was a red-cloaked ghost that was extremely dangerous. There was a note that this is a terribly evil spirit whose favorite food is fear, and the weakness is to strictly follow the rules to find food will rely only on the emotional fluctuations of living creatures, but when meeting an indifferent man like him, will treat him like a stone. Someone from the audience noted that he had already seen this dress and noted that the monster in his hands is not Li Shen's hand. Zhao Yi thought that they had waited so long for this moment that Li Shen would prefer to take a chance and provoke X2. But the boy also did not want to use the secret passage. There must have been something really very scary. The monster's back was turned to the boy. Then Zhao Yi exhaled and asked at the top of his voice why it was so cold in autumn and stretched. In the general chat, they started writing that this guy is very brave, and they were amazed how he could read poems when you are only a step away from a monster. Next, Zhao Yi quietly approached the monster from behind. In the chat they wrote that this ghost is the boss. The guy thought that he didn't really want to be a knight on a white horse, but there was no way around this place. The ghost woman was blocking him, sniffed something, and, breaking away from eating Li Shen's hand, looked intently at Zhao Yi. The boy stood close to the ghost and looked at him as well. Suddenly, the ghost stuck out its tongue and stuck it in Zhao Yi's face. The guy was indestructible. In the chat, they wrote a comment that if Zhao Yi has a drop in spiritual energy, he will be eaten on the spot. After a few seconds, the woman's ghost hid its tongue. and Zhao Yi took out a handkerchief from his pocket and simply wiped his face and smiled. The woman's excuse continued to eat Li Sheng's hand. The guy waved her hand with a casual smile and continued down the corridor. Someone from the audience commented that the guy has meat instead of a heart.